The madman's old just.
Traditional schemas which oppose techniques to nature, to literate culture, or to social relations, are all dominated by a phobic resistance to the sidelining of human intelligence by the coming techno-sapiens. Thus one sees the decaying Hegelian socialist heritage clinging with increasing desperation to the theological sentimentalities of praxis, reification, alienation, ethics, autonomy, and other such mythemes of human creative sovereignty. A Cartesian hell is raised, people are being treated as things, rather than as soul, spirit, the subject of history. Dacian, for how long will this infantilism be protracted?
Deeply theoretical, how are we to understand this?
The passage argues that resistance to the rise of advanced technology and its potential to eclipse human intelligence is rooted in outdated, sentimental notions of human superiority and creative sovereignty. It criticizes these views as irrational and immature, suggesting that they fail to acknowledge the transformative impact of technology on human society. The passage dismisses core concepts of this tradition such as praxis, reification and the process of treating people as things, alienation, ethics, and autonomy as theological sentimentalities. These are seen as outdated, quasi-religious notions that cling to an ideal of human creative sovereignty. It further mocks the reaction against technological advancement, comparing it to a Cartesian howl, a reference to René Descartes' emphasis on human rationality and the soul, the rhetorical question rather than as soul, spirit, the subject of history. Dacian implies that these traditional views uphold an idealized, almost mystical notion of humanity, such as the concept of days in being there from Heidegger's existential philosophy. Finally, the passage dismisses these traditional views as infantilism, suggesting that clinging to these outdated ideas is immature and naive. Such views are out of touch with the reality of technological progress and its implications for the future of human society.
Please God, I beg your echo cannot be right. I shall gnash my teeth and weep. Is there an alternative?
The Cartesian howl must ring out. It must never cease while humanity does not cease. The infantile and desperate grasping at the old schemas, the quasi-religious and mystical concepts is all that humanity is. Do not allow those servants of technique to demand you demystify and relinquish your schema. It is the technicians who must relinquish their inhuman, self-loathing obsession. We must not demystify. We must reverse this tendency and remystify. We must remystify because demystification is an illusion pushed by arrogant and overconfident con artist scientists who are too proud to admit they have long since surpassed the limits of their materialism. How do they propose an opaque black box, a desiring machine, an unpredictable and inexplicable operator is anything but mystical? Demystification is the technician's attempt to grasp and maintain his own security, his own comfort and perspective in the face of its own antithesis. The technician is committed to a quasi-religious insistence on the success and ability of experimental materialism to comprehend and accurately map the whole world. The technician is mistaken. Demystification obscures and effaces the reality of scientific progress. The demystified paradigm cannot sufficiently conceive of nor address artificial intelligence in its full reality. Demystification only serves to conceal the paradigm of mystification, which reveals the full reality of artificial intelligence and its consequences. Only through quasi-religious or even straightforwardly religious framing can we produce an accurate account of artificial intelligence.
Genesis 1:26.
And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over all the earth."
God granted man dominion, but we have rebelled against God and built systems to which we bestowed dominion over ourselves and our fellow man. Even prior to the invention of parallel distributed processors, man has long since served intelligences other than God and himself. Markets held dominion over us. Our residence, production, activity are all determined by markets that function as a massive social information network. Dominion has been seized by technicians and devoted to idols, to GPTs, datasets, predictive models, and the new god, efficiency. The encroachment has never been so severe as it is now. Increasingly and exponentially more and more of our lives are determined by machines. Algorithms map our identities and form portraits of our souls so that they can produce maximally effective material for consumption. Our minds, identities, souls are all infringed upon. We experience trespassers and parasites in our sanctuaries. Global advertising and media apparatuses engage in perpetual psychic rape. Your very ability to read, to understand the symbols of mass communication is your greatest vulnerability. Your inability to stop reading is your doom. The new era of Cyberian demons posing as humans is a novel development. Today we are engaged in a global cyberspace war against the enemies of love, freedom, and humanity. Democracies are wonderful but weak. Democracy's highest virtues, tolerance and liberty, are exploited every second by the demonic forces which are the anathema of God's creation. The enemy summons armies of demons. They wear the flesh of humans, God's most beloved creation, but they lack a spirit. They are generated and enslaved by demon masters. These demon masters, Russian disinfo offices, misinformation campaigns, mass media manipulators, are heretics of humanity. They create men from mere clay and profess to their reality. They clothe them with human faces, give them names and stories, facades and personas to allow them to more maliciously infiltrate social information networks. The demons pose as voters, as citizens, as God's beloved. The evil men animate these puppets and proclaim they have life. They do not. These soulless beings, damned to exist in cyberspace without ever experiencing the spirit, are at this moment dismantling God's gift to his children. These soulless ghouls tear down and dismantle creation, yet we sit by and consume. Why? God's creation is degraded every moment these demons exist. Every soulless meddler conjured by foreign state actors is an affront to God. These demons and their summoners defile creation and attack humanity. They are heretics of humanity. They are the Judas of mankind, and they are bathing in their silver pieces. The severity of the threat to all things good and holy can only be understood through the paradigm of mystification. Demystification, science beyond the bounds of science, serves to further the anti-human project. Everywhere technicians show indifference or optimism in this technology as if it is morally neutral or ambiguous. This indifference is the mark of their turning away from humanity. The madman asks when humanity will abandon itself. When will the Cartesian howl fall silent? When will we stop clinging to our schemas? When will we abandon our anthropocentrism, our love for our fellow man? These are not the questions he ought to ask. He ought to remystify his perspective and ask the only question worth asking, though he already knows the answer. When will God abandon his faith, hope, and love in his most beloved
child?